Welcome to Home Dad Chat, brought to you by the National At Home Dad Network. My name is Brock,
My name is Danny.
and we are here to talk about life as stay at home dads. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
No, I don't want much. I even love handmade crafts made of macaroni. Come on now, you should know me. Times I might eat too much. No worry about my weight. Got the dad bod rocking on me. Sketches on my feet. Cargo shorts look good on me. I'm a dad, that's what I do.
Hey, everybody, welcome to the show. Hope you've all had a great week. Hopefully, everybody's had a chance to take some deep breaths, realize that there's a lot ahead, and we will all get through this together. This community as a whole is definitely one that comes united together. And so I just wanted to just put that out there that we all love each other, and this is definitely a large supportive group here. So, um, don't stay silent. Let folks know if you need to talk to them. We've got a great community for that as well. Danny is a big part of that with Dad's Got to Talk. Great place to be able to have that conversation. But yeah, we're gonna have a conversation today about the Brian Dickson Scholarship Fund. Danny, just curious. I know you've been a part of this organization for longer than me. What kind of interaction have you had with that scholarship or people that have been awarded it?
Well, I've never used it myself, which has been very much a blessing on us, and we're very fortunate. But have been able to go through I think nine conventions now, and it's amazing because what it most often does is it brings in a dad that we never would have been able to meet. We never would have. He knew he never have been able to meet us, but we more specifically would not have been able to meet him. And almost every single time, the recipients of the scholarship award, you'll hear them talk about how life-changing the convention is, how it really is the community that they've been looking for, and you just can't get a lot of times unless you're starting your own dad group. You're doing city dad, something like that. But realistically, most of us, we don't have dads like us in our area. So being able to go to the convention, and so getting that scholarship puts them in a position where they do experience that community. And almost every single one has said, "Oh, yeah, I wish I'd come sooner," or "Yeah, I'm definitely coming back next year," or this is now in our plan. This is in our budget for the rest of my life. That's the way it is for Marty and I.
Yeah.
So being able to see that has been amazing. Every convention, and now it's a little bit harder to get to all of them and talk to everybody, because before it was three or four, and now it seems like there's 12,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is fantastic, uh, because we now have the funds basically to offer that to more dads.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. There's been a lot. I think when you get more people together, there's just a lot more movement that can take place in it, and that's definitely what's happened. And I think that the guys who initially kind of got the ball rolling are going to just continue that moving forward, and it's going to get probably bigger and be able to do much more with it. Last night, I actually sat down on the phone with Mr. Al Watts,
The
and got
man,
to
the
pick
myth, the legend.
right, yeah, and I got to pick his brain a
Love
little bit. He's a historian guy, and I'm
that.
very much the same way, and I love
Hmm.
learning about history. And I had texted him, was like, "Hey, can we talk about Brian Dickson?" And just wanted to get a little bit of background on who he was, because,
Hmm.
of course, a lot of guys didn't get it, have never had the chance to meet him. He was gone too soon. Um, and we had a lovely conversation. It was awesome. I learned a lot. I think now have an even greater just appreciation for what the scholarship is, and
Hmm.
kind of just a better idea of the importance of it. So I was going to tell you a few things that I learned from
Hmm.
talking to him. So Brian Dickson, he was part of the Kansas City Dads group. Um, that's where also where Al met him back in like 2004, 2005. Apparently, he was in IT before he became a stay-at-home dad, and his wife was studying to be a doctor.
Hmm.
Um, so they actually, he had leukemia, and during his or chemotherapy treatment sessions during that time period, they got pregnant, which was very much a shock to both of them because just of everything that's involved with chemotherapy.
Right.
And so they had a little girl, and his chemo treatment, like it put him in submission for a while. And then over some time, it came back. But in between all that, like when their daughter was born, like he was very much sort of this like, if you're in my area, I'll come hang out with you. But at the same time, like I'm trying to, I'm a very, what's the word I'm looking for? Not recluse, but he was an introvert. He just wasn't
Hmm.
somebody that just came out there, which I think a lot of stay-at-home dads are, honestly.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, so basically, he was hanging out with all them, very shy guy. The convention came to Kansas City in 0506, and he was not able to attend because of his illness. It just kept him from being able to be there. But he enjoyed hanging out with the dads and everything. So, in 2007, his leukemia came back. It was even more aggressive than it was before. They did some different things. They had some issues with insurance. It was very much this real big struggle and battle through a bunch of different areas. And unfortunately, in 2008, he passed away. Um, what makes this even sadder is the fact that he was home with his daughter. They had this very special relationship. He died the day before his daughter turned 5.
Mm.
So um but along with that too, the thing that out of listening to Al talk about him was that he never got to go to Home Dad Con. So, which is the
Wow.
thing that I didn't know. I
Yeah.
thought maybe he had been once at least.
Right.
And that wasn't the case because of just the financial burden and just all the things going on illness wise with him. Like he was never able to actually attend the convention. And so it was that time of year when he passed away, like right around a year afterwards, that they actually at that point brought in the idea of the Brian Dickson Memorial Scholarship Fund as a way to symbolize paying it forward to dads. Um, and so, yeah, it was just like that's kind of the basis of who he was. Um, so Al and Hogan Hilling wrote a book a while back called "Behaving Dadly," or "Dad's Behaving Dadly," actually.
Hmm.
And there's an excerpt that is in the book that actually Brian's wife wrote about him and their time together. Um, but I want to make sure that uh, we get our guests on for the day. So we're gonna pause for a second, get them in here, and then we'll all get to hear the story together and talk about more significance to this memorial scholarship fund, and also to like how that's impacted with the beer share. So we'll be right back. Become a member of the National At Home Dad Network, an organization focused on providing advocacy, community, education, and support, connecting with households where dad is the primary caregiver of the children. We do this through our webinar and podcast series, mental health support groups, regular online social events, as well as our annual convention. The National At Home Dad Network is a 100% volunteer organization. Without the generous support of its members and the community around it, we would not be able to continue the work that we do. Becoming a member gives you access to past convention speaker presentations, the ability to vote for board members annually, and ensures that the organization's fees and bills are in positive standing. Oh yeah, it should not go unmentioned that there is some cool swag headed your way if you decide to become a member. For only $35 a year, your membership provides you with the exclusive content only we can generate, and you'll be supporting an organization that benefits families all around the country and world. By advocating for them, offering them community, providing education and guidance, and supporting them to grow in their parenthood journey. And one last thing, if you contribute $500 or more, you will become a lifetime member. Not only will you receive everything already mentioned, but also a certificate recognizing your status and an exclusive National At-Home Dad Network challenge coin with our trademark logo, Dads Don't Babysit. So, what are you waiting for? Become a member today. All right, and we are back. So like I was saying before the break, I've got a little excerpt here I want to read to you all, and then we'll get into talking to Joe and Paul about the beer share and all the things with the rest of the Memorial Fund. So Brian's wife, Anita, wrote this back in like 2013, I think. So basically, she says here, there was a time when I had it all. My husband, Brian, who had relapsed leukemia after 2 years of chemotherapy, was recovering slowly but steadily from a stem cell transplant. Our daughter's conception while he was on chemotherapy was a miracle on both of us. I graduated from residency, had her shortly afterwards, and started my new job when she was only 8 weeks old. We had no family nearby, but a steady stream of relatives from both sides visited frequently and helped us through a very rough transition year. I envied my husband staying home with our daughter every day while I went to work. When he was strong enough and the last of our family had flown the coop, we decided this arrangement worked for us. So raising her was the most important task we had. I watched both of them blossom, my husband into a more patient version of himself, kind but firm. When we were new parents meeting others for the first time and they asked what he did, my husband would reply a Unix administrator, which is what his last job was before the relapse and stem cell transplants caused him to abruptly change his plans. After he and our daughter became regulars in the local at-home dad play group, Brian replied to the same question with pride, some chest puffing and a twinkle in his eye that he was an at-home dad. Conventional wisdom says we usually don't appreciate what we have while we have it. When I was diagnosed with breast cancer and had to endure chemotherapy, which didn't measure up to a fifth of what Brian had endured, Brian knew without asking how I felt and what I was thinking. He used to describe going through a stem cell transplant as fighting a gigantic man-eating monster, being eaten up alive, chewed up, and spit out again. It sounded cliche, but comparably pale experience allowed me to truly appreciate the difficulty of what he had been through. Brian also had the endurance of a saint and complained little about the side effects of his treatment. One of the long-term effects of high-dose steroids received before his transplant was avascular necrosis of the hips. The normal ball shape of his hip joints lost circulation and flattened, making his hips literally square pegs and round sockets. He limped a little when he walked and winced if he had to clamber down to the floor to play with us, but otherwise grumbled very little. When he relapsed again, right before his 32nd birthday, he went back into the hospital with the same matter-of-fact approach he always did to treatments, as if to say, tell me what I have to do so I can get back to my life. Our daughter was 3 years old at the time and loved stuffed animals. Brian would use her stuffed animals as puppets and entertain her with voices that sound like a cross between Donald Duck and Yoda. She and I wandered into a toy store one day and decided to pick up a stuffed version of Squirt, the kid turtle from Finding Nemo, for Brian's birthday, so he wouldn't have his, or so that he would have his Squirt with him, even if they were separated while he was in the hospital. Brian's parenting style was akin to Crush's Squirt's dad. He was calm and gentle, laid back, and constraint to my type A personality. I am convinced our daughter's nature, both gentle and adventurous, is a direct product of my husband's influence. She is turning out to be far better than if her neurotic, paranoid mother had been her early primary care instead. We went through a rough scary patch of touch and go for 2 weeks, during which Brian drifted in and out of consciousness and we almost lost him. I knew he was back when his sense of humor returned. I came to visit him after work one day, and he was sitting up, almost bright-eyed as normal. "Where's Squirt?" he asked. "You don't remember?" He had indeed no memory of the lapse of time. He was just as well, because it was horrible. Brian was in pain, angry and shouting. He had vomit all over Squirt on a particular bad day, so Squirt had gone home to swim in several hot wash cycles. Our toddler found Squirt on the drying rack and decided Squirt belonged to her until Daddy needed him back. Squirt went back to the hospital to keep Brian company the rest of the week until he came home. It took several months for everything to fall into place so Brian could receive a second stem cell transplant. Uh, he sent our princess to my mother's for 2 months while I lived with Brian at the hospital. His parents took over for me after that so I could go back to work, but it meant our daughter and I only saw him a couple weekends at that summer. 9 months later, when he had recovered some strength, we planned to take our princess to see the real ones at Disney World. The nurse at his doctor's office asked, who said you could go to Disney World? We had been through so much. We were done asking permission. We were going. Sitting together in front of Cinderella's castle, the princesses and their prince danced together and sang "Dreams Come True." I could feel tears prickling in the corners of my eyes. My dream was to be with my family, and we were all together. It was cool and pleasant in Orlando, in contrast to the chilly February winter of the Midwest. Nevertheless, our daughter and I came down with fevers. Brian, despite his weakened state, arranged for an in-room fridge, fetched antibiotics for her and cold medicine for me, and stayed with us until we were well enough to go back to the park. We went to character dining and ridings and watched parades. We laughed at Crush's interaction antics during Turtle Talk at Epcot. His surfer dude persona and friendly nature expanded beyond the animated movie. We picked seats close to the stage for Finding Nemo, the musical. Uh, the visual feast of music with the live interactive puppets added a dimension of appreciation. On our way out of the theater, we stopped at a souvenir kiosk. Our daughter demanded a stuffed crush. "Why do you need another stuffed animal?" I asked, thinking of the last 50 other stuffed animals in her bedroom at home and the Minnie, Mickey, Donald Duck, and Daisy we had bought her along already on the trip. "Because Squirt needs a daddy," she replied. Well, how do you agree, or how do you argue with logic like that? Of course, Squirt needs his daddy. The stuffed crush quipped surfer language, just like in Turtle Talk. Father and daughter mimicked Crush and hilarious one-liners that usually started with "Dude." My father could only sing off key, but the song from the musical quickly became favorites. "Just keep swimming, just keep swimming." Dory sings, and we did even after we found out 1 month later Brian had relapsed for a third time. "Go with the flow," Crush sang. It became Brian's motto. He passed away the day before our daughter's fifth birthday last year, which that would have been 20. Oh gosh, I don't even know what year that would have been. 2007, I guess.
Yeah,
Uh,
17 years ago.
yeah, last year she celebrated her 10th birthday at that point. I felt a lump in my throat thinking of how she has now lived without her dad uh, longer than the time we had together. She didn't realize until near the end how beautiful or I didn't realize until the end how beautiful and fragile our perfect family was. Brian was an amazing husband and an incredible father. He is no longer here to put his arms around us, but he is still here. He is in our daughter, our princess, who is a brave, confident, and happy. The lessons he taught both of us remain. Each challenge we face together, with Brian's words in his best Crush impression ringing in our ears. "Go with the flow." The National At Home Dad Network's Brian Dickson Memorial Scholarship is a scholarship fund to help stay at home dads who would like to attend the annual At Home Dad convention but cannot because of financial reasons. So that's how that scholarship started. So I'm going to stop talking now.
Yeah, the only reason I'm not crying is because I didn't know Brian. Never met him. It was before my time. I think before all of our times. Um, but I've always heard his name from the very first convention, and I, while that was very deep and sad, it's also really puts a lot of how important his name is on the scholarship. What he was to his family, to this organization, and like I just said, none of us ever even met him. Um, I think it's good that you read that. It's pretty sobering, I'll admit. And we're gonna swing the ship, I'm sure, to something a little more lighthearted, but just so that we all understand why we have this and how important it is and how important he was to the organization.
I feel like every year I get people that ask who he is
Mm-hmm.
and why the scholarship's named after him. And so I was very happy to get that information from Al last night.
Well, yeah, and Brock and I kind of came in at the same, like every few years is like a new wave of guys that come through, and
Mm-hmm.
we
Yep.
were kind of in between years, but at the same time. And when we came in, a lot of the old timers that really knew Brian were still active. They
Mm-hmm.
hadn't hit that point where they really fell out yet. So when we came in, we heard his name a ton, and we heard stories, and we heard those little things here and there that would pop up that they would remember and talk about. So so there's that, and also the story and what he went through. A lot of us either have that in our family or have that in our friend groups or have that in the org where we've seen some people go through some rough patches. And what propels a lot of our passion for this work is those dads that are needing the help because we've been through it, our families have been through it, or we've seen friends through it.
Yeah. Well, we always talk about too how like, as dads, a lot of times we live off of the things that our kids do. And with the fact that Brian never got to go to the convention because of his illness, every year that we send guys to the convention due to the scholarship fund is just another way to one allow his memory to carry on, but also too like in a way like even though he's not here to live vicariously through those guys that do get to go. So with that, the Memorial Scholarship Fund has really I feel like come to life. Like it's always been it's been around for quite a while. And it's always been one of those things where a portion of like the dads don't babysit shirt. There was a portion of money that came out of that and went into the scholarship fund. If you bought a ticket, there was a portion that went in. But it was always just sort of like these little like $5 here, $5 there kind of deal. And, we'd have a little bit of money to take and send a few guys to go to the convention. But just within the past few years, like it has exploded. A lot of it's due to what you guys have been working on. And so um, we wanted to talk with you guys about that and then also too like just everything that took place this year with the convention because it was magic. I mean, we had lightning in a bottle years ago at the Minnesota when we did the ketchup mustard.
Yeah,
uh
Minneapolis.
that
Yeah.
was that was definitely lightning in a bottle for sure. And I feel like that was sort of like almost a beginning role to everything. But um talk a little bit about like why it is you guys wanted to basically like kind of get involved in this committee of the beer share that's also connected with the scholarship fund.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Joe can speak to this too, I suppose. But when we started in Cincinnati randomly getting $350, Joe messaged me, I don't know, like a week later and I think it was a week, 2 weeks later, it was like, do we want to do this officially, make money for the convention or for the scholarship fund? And it was like a no-brainer. I don't know where his mind was at, but it was like, yes, let's do this. Let's start making money for the scholarship fund. Let's build this thing up. Let's get as many guys to conventions as possible. I don't know. Cincinnati was my first convention, so I don't know how many guys were going on scholarship to each convention before that. But being able to see now where we got 10 guys at minimum, I mean, I think it was like 10 this year going on scholarship
Mm-hmm.
and still having a big bulk of money in that account and then building it up again this year. It feels really good to be able to help all these people. I don't know.
I'm getting the fact that you remember that, that conversation, like I'm getting chills from it because I don't have any background in fundraising. I don't have any background in going to fundraisers. Like I don't know anything, but that, I had been to multiple conventions before that happened, and I could feel that like momentum that this could be something, and maybe we send two guys. Maybe we have enough, to help two people get convention tickets. It's something. And also for me, and I know I've talked on here before about it, like I very quickly felt that excitement for giving back because I had been on that scholarship before. Um, and and so I understand when we get guys that are like, what can I bring? How can I help? Like, I'm on scholarship, you sent me, I feel bad. We hear that sometimes. Um, and I get that feeling because I had that feeling. Like, what are people gonna think? And how can I give back and help? And this has been, and don't get me wrong, people that are listening, you don't need to do this. This is how Paul and I are contributing. Your presence is you contributing, and we want people to definitely know that too. Like the more dads that we can get there that can, be um, helped by the brotherhood of fatherhood, the better. And so we
Yeah.
want all those folks there and participating as much as possible. But in the moment, I felt that this is my possible contribution back. And I think I continue to feel that way.
I do a lot of the volunteering or the fundraising that I do just because it's for groups that I want to be a part of and I want to see people a part of. So when I go to convention and I know there's that many people there that I've helped in a small way get there, it makes me happy. So seeing them there is all I need. We don't need people to jump in, like Joe said. We don't need people to, if you want to, great. If you come up to us and say, hey, what can I do? Uh, Great. We can find something for you to do, or how you want to try to donate something. Great. This year, the gaming crew brought over 3 games that were wrapped and said,
Nice.
hey, try to sell these for raise money for the scholarship. So we sold them off quick, and so the gaming crew helped out, so it's just imagine it's just any small way.
And you have definitely inspired um, the people in our gaming community. It may not happen like so easily as it appears that y'all did it because you've been doing beer share for years and then suddenly exploded. But they thought about the same thing. How could we game for charity? And there are ways to do that. Is there something that, that they could bring to the table that they could every year? Let's donate this or that. So, and have to remember most of us gamers, unlike me and unlike Dane, our other official dungeon master, it's you run into a lot of people who don't know how to reach out in any way. And a lot of our dads, we said it earlier on the show, that they're introverts and they don't know how to move this. And for you to have done something to the point where you've affected so many people over just the last few years that they are our people in our community who've never used the scholarship, who are coming in going, yeah, what can I do? And these people are nerds like me but quieter, and they're shy, and it's really difficult. And for them to do it, I got to say, it's just been a huge, huge change in the organization. And I, for one, am of course very grateful for the work y'all do. But I think you should know that a lot of people in the organization, beyond those recipients, are very, very grateful for what you do.
I think it's great too that I mean it's not just people that are just drinking beer and whiskey that are going to these things too. There's like the sober community of of our group are also very much involved, and there's different aspects of that to it. I think the fact that that they're good NA beers to be able to have to the bring to the convention, and that's a big draw. I know this year it seemed like there was quite a few different auction items that were not beer related at all. Some of them were cigar related, and then others were just dad related. Like there were some just really great T-shirts that were up for for getting, and things like that. And so uh, it's definitely taken on just a completely different look than what it was. And I feel like too, like I would be remiss not to also bring up just talking about or asking about the difficulties that also you guys have gone through to get this through, like because I mean it's not all like, oh yeah, it was so easy, we put it together, like you know I, give me a break, like there's always give and take in this kind of thing. And so I kind of wanted to
Right.
just ask you guys like to share a little bit about maybe like just where you guys kind of had some overcoming some of those difficulties.
Ooh, ooh, ooh. I got something. I got something. Um, so this year, weird year, weird year. I was going through some health stuff. I'm still trying to figure out some health stuff, but I was going through some health stuff running right into the convention. Right. So one of the biggest difficulties for me was I had to really lean on the committee. I had to lean on my brothers in the committee, and they were already doing a ton and kicking butt. But I had to really have one of those moments of like, what can I do and what can't I do? And I'm not used to that. I'm more used to take on as much as I can and then like wait for them to be like, Joe, really? And be like, oh yeah, I guess I don't have to do all of that.
Right.
Um, so that was a difficulty this year. One of the things that's been a difficulty every year, every single year, except this year, I feel. And Paul, you can you can overrule me if you like, is we usually have at least one board member, if not a couple, that are new to the board that have concerns about what a beer share is,
Mm.
what it means that alcohol and dads, etc. And it might be about the room, it might be about the timing, it might be about inclusion of sober dads and etc., which is a huge thing for us, always has been. Every single year we have to defend why what we do is still okay. And this year, I felt like everyone was on board from the jump. Now, I'm not in board meetings. I could be very wrong. There could have been contentious, whatever. But if there were, they figured it out and for once didn't include
We,
me. And I appreciate that.
we really tried. We did try, Joe, but Paul was in there. He's like, no, that's not how it is. I'm like, no, come on, Paul, get on the train. No one had a problem with it.
So,
Again, we
so
got we. I
that's
think we finally understand, and that includes us non-drinkers, what a beer share is. We've talked about it on on the podcast and what have you. It's just tastings. It's not how many beers can you
yeah.
drink. You would die. There was just
Well,
just so much beer.
and events and things are what you want to make it, right? So this is our beer share.
Hmm.
This isn't somebody else's. This is ours, and we have crafted it very specifically to try and include as many people as possible, to be a light-hearted, fun event. This year we did include bidding each other up, which even got me about 20 bucks deeper into a beer that I brought. Um, but it's one of the best beers out of Anchorage Brewing, so that's okay. I'll live with it. I'll gladly do that. So there are those kind of flares of fundraisers and that fun coming through. Um, but yeah, I guess for me, a lot of the difficulties in past years, we've gotten better at negotiating them. We've got, we're becoming experts on this rapid. So we're getting better at getting through it. So maybe we had a ton of difficulties, but they felt easier.
Yeah,
Nice.
I agree with what Joe said about past difficulties. At least it was perceived. I guess we don't really know because I was on the board this year. I don't know past discussions, but we'd get as a committee before Phoenix and before Milwaukee, we'd get this message from Joe. Oh, the world's falling down. They don't want us to do the share. They everybody's against the share. Everybody thinks we're going to just get drunk. Like just and
The
and then
new
it
guy's
was
pissed. Yeah.
yeah. And then I don't know if that was coming out of board meetings or if that was coming out of Monday night chats. I don't. We just all of a sudden we get this message from Joe, and this year we did not get that message from Joe. Um, so that
Yay.
difficulty is definitely gone. And I think and like Joe said, and Danny mentioned that the realization that it's more of just a social hour and having fun versus going out and getting drunk.
Mhm.
Nope. I didn't see anybody that was even tipsy at any of the
No.
nights there. So everybody just talks. You're talking way too much to be able to
Yeah.
drink so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll say, even on the brewery hop, we had what I think we ended up total 18 or 20 guys, not including drivers, and nobody got drunk. And we went to like 4 different breweries, and they were all like, "Yeah, I want to try a flight here, a flight here." But it was, I'm going to try it, and we're going to talk about it, and we're going to discuss it, or we're just going to discuss why we're here because we weren't, at the actual beer share with all of the people that are real aficionados. But it was just enjoying that time together, like you said, and I think that's a big part of things that you might miss if you like I walk in when the party's rocking, and I'm not a party rocking kind of guy, right? And I'll take my, I'll be okay, guys. Don't give me any beer, but I'm still very welcome, even though I'm not going to drink more than likely. I'm not even going to try an NA. I've got one that Joe introduced me to that I like. But other than that, I don't have any other reason to be there except for that community, for that time together where you're sharing, and maybe you're talking about beer. There's a lot of talk about beer, but maybe you're talking about your kids or your life or just being away from things and you finally take a deep breath and sleep in or whatever. And that community that we've got, I feel, as an organization at the convention and then absolutely at the beer share is probably for me the most, for lack of a better word, beautiful thing about the beer share
Yeah.
community.
Well, and that's what it was before it was a fundraiser too, right? Like
Mhm.
when I when I started Portland and got invited to the share, right? Like where it was just if you knew, you knew type thing. I don't even think my first was Portland. I think my first was Orlando with Brock. Um, Even then, like, yeah, it was you had to be pretty dang snobbish and you had to know your stuff. But we were there talking about our lives. We were talking, we were talking about being fathers and what that meant and it went late night and some difficult conversations and some fun conversations and some hilarious stuff.
But there were also
But
people too that came by and would also be like, "Oh, what's this?" And we
oh
would
yeah, no,
always
and it
just
was
like, "Come on in." Like there was
yeah, no,
never you can't come in. So
there's never been a beer share fundraiser or not that didn't have enough beer. Like that has never happened.
That's true.
Yeah.
Um, but what I'm getting at is that you know those that had done it before it was a fundraiser, we knew what it was. So opening it up, making it huge, trying to get everybody a part of it, it felt like for years we had to prove that. We had to prove that concept of what we already knew it was, which was a social time for dads to join together and have that fun that you want to have when you're away from family in a safe and loving
Hmm.
environment, so you're not overdoing it and making bad choices, or what I did in college, which was me depressed in the corner with a bottle of Jaeger.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
there was
Yeah.
I yeah, well also too with that kind of whole idea of, people not drinking a whole lot, that kind of thing. I know particularly one individual that was really bummed out because they weren't going to actually get to enjoy the beer share they had in past years because of just medical issues. And I remember during the dad lounge, they were talking about it, and I was just like, I mean, you could just pull off basically like a sommelier where you're just putting it in, swishing it around, getting the taste of it on your tongue, and then spit it out. That because it was the whole like swallowing it part that was gonna mess up his situation. And he was like, I'll have to think about that. And then when I came to the beer share the first night, he come walking up to me and he was like, thank you for that suggestion. Like, this is working out great. And I'm like, awesome. Like, I'm so glad that you're able to still enjoy, coming to the beer share and getting to at least taste, the different beers. So that was pretty
yeah,
exciting.
I had 2 beers the entire 3 nights. I had 2 beers, 2 tastes, not even full. So if the dude who is so full of himself, he likes to call himself the chairman of the beers. Yes, that is what I like to call myself. When I do outreach for donations, I put it down as my title. I had two like taster glasses of beer,
Hmm.
and that if I can do that, then for darn sure you can come and have a blast and be a part of everything
Hmm.
and not drink, because
And
that is not the focus.
you
Wait, I
used the
want to,
word
yeah, go ahead.
earlier that you used the word earlier support, which I think is a huge part of our organization as well. In that you do go to you're going to go to somebody's, it's not going to be their room anymore, but the way that we used to it, go to somebody's room and drink beers. Okay. Sure, but we're not there again to get faced. And if we see somebody getting a little too much, we'll support them. Now, I will say for my part, I've supported people by helping them to stop drinking for the night, and I've supported other people by helping them drink more and then getting them back to bed. Right? It just was the way the night went sometimes, and that's what you do. But it is that place where everybody in this room has got my back.
Yeah.
Everybody in this room will help me if I do drink too much, because sometimes we just do. We just get to a point we want to just let everything go, and we need to blank out or whatever, and just laugh and giggle all night. Cool. These guys will get me back to my room. This is my roommate, or this is just somebody that'll just one of the other guys that'll help me. And that support is a huge part again of the framework of our community.
Yeah.
My first night, first con in Portland, in the hotel bar, uh just way too much, going through it, rough time. President of the org at the time, Chris Routley, sitting there for like another hour talking me through all my emotions. Like, so not only does the org have a history of this, I personally have a history of this,
Yeah.
of being that dad that needed that support. I wasn't on scholarship. My parents paid me, or paid for me to go. Like, I was in a rough spot,
Yeah.
and I had the person at the top of the rung at the time sit there with me for like an hour or something, with his wife waiting, talking me through stuff.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a tradition of support.
Well, hey, Paul, so talking about support, so lots of people have contributed in different ways. Like we've already talked about the beer side of things, but the auctions and just the money raising that took place in that, uh, talk about that. Like, because you guys, you pivoted to online for like a pre-sale of things, and then there's in-person stuff. Like, but just give everybody an idea of what that's taken, where that's gone, and just where things are, because like the what you guys brought in this year is really mind blowing to me.
I think the big thing is that there are people that want to donate items to us because they know our cause. So Melissa Davidson is a big example. She spoke last year in Milwaukee as a keynote. She saw what we were doing and the beer share and said, "Hey, this is what I want to donate." We auctioned those off last year, made a lot of money, and I
And what
reached
was
out in the
that
spring.
exactly? Let people know what that
Oh,
was.
she donated sessions for gentle parenting. I don't remember exactly what it was. Counseling sessions for you or you and your spouse to help you guide you through being a better parent. So we ended up selling two of those last year in the auction. Um, I reached out in the spring and I was like, "Hey, would you want to donate that again?" And she's like, "I don't know what I'm not going to be there speaking, so I don't know what if people are going to be like hyped up for it." We raised $250 in 5 minutes, with her,
Nice.
and that's a huge, big bump, right? Um, Kiba, he's painting these beautiful paintings out on the terrace at the convention. He sees what we're doing and he's like, "I want to give you one." So we quick auction off. What do we make? 350 on that painting?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so, and being able to grab these big items that aren't beer related, like the Lego man. Now, how much
Mm-hmm.
money did we make on the Lego guy this
Yeah.
year? I don't know how much those things cost. I don't remember what it said, but we probably combined between the FOA fund and the beer share, we probably made $1,500, maybe
Mm-hmm.
$1,200 there on that little guy. Like
Yeah.
that, it's just like a little Lego man. Just getting these non beer related items from people that know what we're doing and appreciate what we do, I think really helps.
Yeah, no, that's
Especially,
awesome. And so with that, so you guys had the online stuff. I thought it was really cool too this year. JB Craft won the bottle of Weller, and
yeah.
he wasn't going to make it to the convention, and was just like,
Mm-hmm.
"Hey, like, open it up, and toast to fatherhood and that kind of thing, and just enjoy it." And that was just really cool. That was neat to be in the room for that, and it kind of gives me goosebumps actually thinking about it right now, because it was just such a really just special like thing to be
Right.
able to do that. um so that was
Yeah. Funny thing
really,
about
yeah.
the funny thing about that bottle, I won that bottle in a free raffle on BRTC Facebook group, and I
Nice.
was like, well, I don't need this bottle. I already have a bottle of Weller Special Reserve. I had a 1.75. I'll just donate it to the auction. Like, and then it got up to a hundred
Nice.
dollars. I'm like, geez, Louise. And then he doesn't
Yeah,
even want it. He didn't even want the
right.
bottle. That was, it's
And
like,
by the way, that was one of my drinks too.
There you go.
I had to for that. I had to for that.
yeah,
There you
yeah.
go, definitely.
But then,
But then,
and then our like
yeah.
silly auction items we had two silly auction items that we raised, I don't know, $100 on. Dinner with Brian Frampton. Like, it was the free dinner that the convention was putting on.
Mhm. Yeah.
All you got to do was sit with Brian
So with
for
Brian,
dinner. It's
which was
kind of a joke.
beautiful. Yeah, but it was beautiful. I love it. I'm like, this guy
Yeah,
has guts, let's say. He's got,
yeah,
yeah. How do you sit with
yeah,
your legs crossed, dude? You got some, yeah. You come have dinner
yeah.
with me. Just at the convention. Yeah, just right here at the table. You just get to sit. I was like chef's kiss. That was
Yeah,
perfect.
For
right.
the beer share committee, really the fun of that was brainstorming what people were going to get to do with or to or alongside Brian. That was hours of fun texting back and forth, I will assure you.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can only imagine what ideas you guys came up with on that one. Um, so at the end of the night, because we're getting close to the end of the end
yeah.
of this episode, so at the end of third night, things are really starting to wind down, but at the same time, really ramp up because of just where things were amount wise. Which, by the way, Paul, your beard's coming in nicely. Um, um, so what transpired at the end? Like, because there was a lot that kind of went on in just like 30 minutes, basically.
Well, so after night two, we did our count up and we were at like $4,600. And I had put a bounty on it As people know, Joe has generally raised money by drinking pumpkin beer. Um,
True.
Joe is not
Whoa.
Joe is not doing
Yeah.
pumpkin beer this year again. So, and they wanted everybody wanted me to raise money shaving my beard. And I was like, well, there's not really a dollar amount like Joe. Everybody just throws in a cash bounty, and then as it grows, the more pumpkin beer he drinks. Um,
Mhm.
I was like, well, if we beat our number last year, then I'll shave my beard. Thinking I was safe,
Right?
$6,300. I was like,
You
there's no way.
underestimated these people, man. Don't ever underestimate dads.
There's no way we're getting more than $6,300. That's we raised in Milwaukee. So I'm like, no way. I'm safe. And come night two, I said, well, like I said, we were at about 46. So I'm like, I'm safe. We need $1,800 tonight. There's no way it's happening. We freaking blew it out of the water, those guys.
Yeah. Never underestimate a big group of dads, man.
What was
It's turned
the in
against you,
total?
Paul.
Um, the announced total at the share was 7,081 cents. 7,000 on the dot and 81 cents.
Nice.
That's
We then
awesome,
got
man.
another
Um,
$185 in that I wasn't counting on. So it was actually $7,185.81.
Wow. Wow.
So I shaved my beard.
Well, it grew
and
back fast. It's only been a few
yeah,
weeks.
dad.
Well, it's not as long yet, but it's definitely the school
You
on
can
Monday was
see it.
weird.
Oh, I bet.
I was walking down the hall. I had a job on Monday. I substituted, so I got back on Sunday and then went to school on Monday. Substituted. I'm walking down the hallway, and the principal stopped to thank me for coming in, like he had no idea who I was.
Thank you for volunteering your
Right?
time on your busy
You know, I
day.
I thought it would be like, hey, are you Paul's son? Just that youthful baby face. But Paul, this is me. I haven't shaved since before we left for St. Louis. I don't know if you can see it. There's a little bit
There's
there.
no
There's a little
there's
bit
no
there.
Yeah,
beard
yeah,
This.
shaming
You
here.
see this?
There's no
yeah,
beard
yeah.
shaming
All
here.
this coming in. That's it. So yeah, when you shaved yours off, I'm like, or you've just suggested it. I was like, God, man,
Well, I feel like
how long is it going to take? 3 weeks, I guess. Nice job, Paul.
I feel
Yeah,
like
two and a
also
half
too
weeks, I
that
guess.
it's the other thing is what how the kids responded and your wife for that matter. Like because that's usually the
Yeah.
thing that most of us see online is the reaction to that. What was that like for you?
Well, I prepped my wife before the convention. I said, well, we raised 2,000 on the online auction, so we're only $4,400 away from getting that $6,400 goal. So I might be shaving my beard, and so she was prepared. So then on Saturday night after I did it, I sent her a picture, and I was like, bounty face. We raised 7 grand with no beard.
No
So
beard. Yeah.
so she was prepared. So then when I walked in the house, she was filming the kids, and I walked around the corner, and both my kids were like, "Who who who is that, Dad?" Like they were super confused. It was so funny.
That's
This
awesome. Your
is
dogs
Yeah.
are like, I refuse to come up to you right now.
Mhm.
Well, it's funny. My puppy has been biting my beard so every time we snuggle, she like bites my beard,
hmm
and so now there's
Yeah.
nothing there to bite. I don't know if she was.
Oh my gosh. Well, guys, I really appreciate you coming on the show and sharing about what's been going on with the beer share. I think that, the fact that there's over $7,000 in the fund is going to be just amazing for seeing just how many dads we can get to go to San Antonio. And I think that
There's 7,000 more dollars in the fund.
More.
that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's actually from as the treasurer of the National Out Dad Network, after we get Brian Frampton's transfer from the Venmo that everybody's doing, we're going to be over 11,000.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I think that for me, that is how I'm measuring our success now. It used to be like, let's beat last year. let's beat last year. Like just this huge push to beat last year. And that's getting more and more difficult. So now what is successful that that it's funded, the scholarship is funded so that dads that need to go can go. Like that's success for me.
Yeah,
Mhm.
definitely. I think
Um,
even too, like, raising the amount that was spent to get dads there, because I don't think that really the whole amount that's in that fund will ever be like fully like spent out, just because of just the physical responsibility of, how that all works out. But if it happens to do that, then great. But I think that's another part of it, is just the fact that you guys have such a great push. Like it allows for the replenishment of what is
mhm.
being spent. So, oh man.
Yeah, and
We
before you wrap us up, I just want to say, like, since Paul's on here too, two things. One, especially this year with stuff I was dealing with, if it wasn't for the committee, like this is truly a committee effort to get all this stuff going, and we lean on each other through the year, and we work out stuff together, and it has become an amazing family within the family for me.
And who's
So
all
I
on the
want to.
committee, real quick, too? Who's on the committee? It's you two and who else?
Oh, just us two. I
yeah,
just
just us,
it
just
is
us.
just us, just us.
No, Joe,
Woo!
no,
No, no, no,
we
no,
gotta
no,
say,
no.
Great.
yeah,
Now I
Brian.
know I'm getting messages from one particular committee person that listens to
Mm,
this podcast.
Well,
Who we have not named yet, and we should have, but it's
so
okay.
Yeah,
there's committee and then there's volunteers. We won't go through the whole volunteer list because my memory isn't that good. Um, but we've got Eric, we've got Josh, we've got Quetzal, and I'm missing one because I'm
David
blanking.
Rogers,
Brian.
No, no, Brian. We're,
Brian.
we're talking committee, not
Okay.
volunteers. Because volunteers, we also have people that hop in and hop out. We've got a ton of. It's a big old thing. But so there's six of us in the committee as of now. Um,
Awesome.
and then, but the other thing I want to say too is this also isn't possible if it weren't for all of the members that show up and uh do participate and talk us up through the entire con and let those folks know that might be apprehensive that it is a safe place to be, a fun place to be. You go and you're going to see a little bit of everybody there.
Yep,
And that's huge for us.
definitely. Well, guys, thank you so much. Like I said, it's been great talking to you. Thank you to your committee for all the hard work that you do. And also thank you to all the volunteers who step up and help out as well. Because without volunteers, things don't run as smoothly. So it's always
Mm.
great to have them. And, this organization is always looking for volunteers. So as we've always said before, if you want to volunteer, get a hold of Dale Van Valera. He's the guy. He's the one that'll get you connected in that area. So until next week, we will talk to you later.
Good night, everybody.
I'm a dad, that's what I do.